I recently asked a contractor what they need help with in their business to double their business. And they said systems, this arbitrary term of systems that's going to help them scale. And so I broke it down to a couple of different areas. And I said, okay, do you need help with hiring the right people in order for your business to grow? Do you need the right customers so that way you can get the better jobs and charge more so you can grow? Or do you not even know your numbers? And we need to start with the numbers so you actually can make the decisions in your business so you can grow. And he responded, I need to know my numbers. If you're a contractor and you've said, I just need to know my numbers and then I'd be able to grow, or I just need to know my numbers in order for me to make better decisions, then I want you to watch this video, because in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 6 critical numbers that you need to measure on a regular basis to be able to scale your construction business. Now, if you want this spreadsheet that I have that does all the math calculations for you, then just comment numbers below and I'll send it right over to you. If you don't know who I am, I'm Liz Chism, and I help contractors with systems and processes so they can scale their business without scaling their chaos. The very first number that we are going to look at is the job costing accuracy. This is where we're going to look at what we estimated the job at and what the job ended up coming in at and compare the two so we can decide how accurate we are. So let's say that you estimated the job at, let's say, $40,000 for the job. And then the actual cost came in at $45,000. You are now at a $5,000 variance, which means that you're at about 87% accuracy rate. Now, this doesn't seem like a big deal, and $5,000 doesn't seem horrible, but when you compound this to job after job after job, and your accuracy continues to be 10 to 20% below what it should be at, then you are basically running a B company when you try to scale as an A company. This is a B rating. If you can estimate your jobs 100% accurate, you can put an extra, in this case, 13% into your profit, because you're losing that 13% on every job. Now, maybe sometimes it's 90% accurate and sometimes are 85% accurate. And so you want to look at that job costing accuracy overall. So if you're bleeding profits, if you have cash flow issues, then job costing accuracy is probably the number one place to look at your business and to see where you either need to raise your prices or you need to plug the profit leaks in your business so that way you can scale and actually keep some of the profits for all the hard work that you're putting in. Now, the next one that I want to look at is the estimate conversion rate. Now, this is probably one of the most critical numbers that I see across the board from contractors. And this is the number that if I can move this number in their business, I can double their business practically overnight. I've done this time and again because you need to know what you're measuring first, and then you need to know how to fix it. So let's say in 1 month, I did 10 estimates. And out of those 10 estimates, I closed 2 jobs. That is a 20% estimate conversion rate. That is really, really low. If you are less than 50%, you've got major problem. If you were anywhere from like 50 to 70%, you're not doing too bad, but there's definitely room to grow. And then if you're at 70% or above, then you're probably doing pretty good. And I wouldn't focus on this area just yet in your business. But if you're at 20% estimate conversion rate, meaning that you do 10 estimates and only 2 become clients, then you are wasting a lot of time in your business and you're wasting a lot of resources in your business. So let's say for every estimate that you do, that's 6 hours of work. So let's say it takes 6 hours to do an estimate and you're only closing 2 out of every 10. That means you're working 48 hours for free. The work that you put in is not producing any results. So this is where I told you I can double your business in just one simple system in place where I can take this and go, okay, what do we need to do to double the amount of estimates that actually convert to clients? So if I change this to a 4, I'm at 40%, but I've doubled how many clients I get. Same amount of work, double the business. This is where most people just sweep on by and want these fancy folders on how to do everything in their business, and they're missing out on the profit in their business. If you track this on a monthly basis or even a weekly basis, depending on the volume of estimates that you do, I guarantee that you'll start finding ways to increase how many estimates that you get. Or you can also be like the clients in the roundtable, and I can help walk them through this so they can actually double their clients. Now, the next one I want to look at is the gross profit margin up here. Now, most people mix up gross profit margin and net profit margin, and they have all these different terms for it. This is simple. And then some people even do markup versus margin. So this is why I have a calculator for you. So you can just plug in the numbers numbers and you get the numbers that you want. So like I said, just comment numbers below and I'll send this over to you. So in 1 month, and I like to do this on a monthly basis, and then I have a whole spreadsheet that you can plug it in every month and then you can start seeing the trends across it. But in this particular calculator, I would like to measure per month. So let's say I did $100,000 in a month. And it took $50,000 to buy the materials and to pay for the labor and the trucks and the gas that has the trucks. And I had to buy a new tool. So I'm going to mark that to the job. And then, I spent my time managing the job. So then that needs to also be included in this. So basically everything that it takes to make this job actually successful, that is what the cost of goods sold is. Your subs can also go into this category because they are part of getting the job complete. So the goal is that you have a 50% gross profit margin, which means that if it costs you $50,000 to do this job, you're actually charging $100,000. Now, I know you may be thinking, that's crazy. There's no way I can charge that much. But you can if you run a tight ship and you put all your systems and processes in place, because people pay for things to be streamlined. People pay for speed. People pay for accuracy. People pay for not having a headache because work needs to be redone because you have things done right the first time. Now, let's just say that your revenue on this job is $100,000. That's how much the homeowner is paying you for this job. And it costs you $70,000 to actually complete the job. Then you're really only left with $30,000 to run your entire business. This leaves you very little left over to actually run your business. And then you don't have the profits left over to be able to go hire more people to grow your business, or pay for marketing to expand your reach, or to put in systems and processes and hire the coaches to actually do everything. So if you're looking at less than 40% gross profit margin, it is time to raise your prices. Next, we're going to look at the average transaction value. Now, this is important because you want to make sure that this number constantly goes up. What ends up happening though is you have a contractor and they specialize in, let's say, kitchens and baths, and they're going along and then times get a little slow. So then somebody calls them like, hey, can you hang a couple doors? And you're like, yeah, I got some time. So then you go and hang some doors, and then somebody else calls you and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of want some extra work done over here. And you're like, I think I can slip it in. And then you go and do some extra work. And then all of a sudden your average transaction value, the amount that you got from the door customer, the amount that you got from the handyman customer, the amount you got from a bathroom you did, all of that averages out. And then all of a sudden your average transaction value goes whoop and shrinks. And this is when you know that you have a problem in your business, because you're not going after the things that are going to help grow your business, give you an edge, and help you create that niche and that specialty trade for your business. And so when you start seeing that number over time go down, you know you need to start focusing on the bigger jobs. Now, these little jobs are not bad to grab if you do have the time, but it takes away your focus from going after the bigger jobs. So one client, they love doing big additions. They love doing big remodels. They want to do the big projects, things where it's $250,000 for a remodel, or $500,000 for a remodel, or even $1 million for a remodel. Those are the types of projects they want. They do not want the bathrooms. And there was one time when she actually said no to close to 8 bathroom remodels, because she's like, no, I need to focus on my ideal client. I need to focus on the jobs that I actually want. So she said no to all of these bathroom remodels, even though it would keep their guys busy. I mean, they had some work for the next month, so she wasn't desperate. And then all of a sudden, because she was able to go do the estimating for these bigger projects, she was able to land some really big, awesome custom additions that are in line with how they wanted to grow their business. And so now they're great, especially working through winter. They're like, we're good, we're set, because they knew how to focus on that number. Next, I want to talk about the customer acquisition costs. Now, contractors that I work with, they're at that point where they're still getting a lot of repeat business and referrals. And so they don't really have a marketing system in place. So then they tell me things like, well, I don't really spend money on marketing, and I don't really have a salesperson. I am the salesperson. So my customer acquisition costs are pretty much zero. That is a lie. You're not estimating your time. If you were to pay a salesperson, how much would you be paying them? Even if you are the salesperson, you need to put that number down. If you would have commission, okay, maybe you're not paying yourself commission, but you would need to think as a person who, okay, if I'm the salesperson and I'm getting commission from my business, how much is that? That goes into your customer acquisition cost. If you have an estimator, let's say it's yourself, and you spend 6 hours on an estimate and you should charge yourself at least $250, if not $500 an hour. Okay, well now 6 hours times $500 an hour is $3,000. Okay, so now that's part of getting a client. Now, if you've got the estimate conversion rate way over here with thrown way out of whack, then your customer acquisition cost is going to be astronomical. Now, there's a couple of reasons why you want to know this number. First of all, you want to see how you can then do different marketing, better marketing, different strategies to get this number to move. If you put in a marketing strategy and somebody sold you on print magazine that you can put in like a page with a beautiful bathroom remodel that you did, and then you see all this money spent to get clients and you get 0 clients or 1 client, then you know that that's not working in your business. And so you want to keep an eye on this number. The second reason that you want to keep an eye on this number is because you want to bake this number into your estimate. So if it costs you $1,500 to get a client, that's how much it costs to get a client in your business, then you want to make sure that you're charging an extra $1,500 on your estimates to cover your client acquisition costs. This is where you can then have that money to go market, have that money to go pay a salesperson, have that money to go pay for an estimator, and you're not stuck in a cash flow roller coaster hoping that you have enough money to pay payroll on Friday. And last but not least is the net profit margin. This is basically the money that is left over at the end of the day. Now, what most people do is they go, okay, this is how much money I made, and then this is how much money I spent, but I'm not going to include my salary. And then this is how much money I have left over. Ooh, I have money left over. I can now go pay for dinner, and I can go buy a truck, and I can go pay for my salary, and I can go pay for all this stuff. And then they have all this fluff in there. And then they're like, wait a minute, where did my money go? So you want to make sure that your net profit margin is what is actually left at the end of the day, not what's left and then you go spend it. Because this is where a lot of contractors get into trouble because they think they have the money there and really they've spent it on maybe extra inventory, or they've spent it because they went and bought themselves a new truck, even though they didn't really need a new truck. Now, of course, there's tax advantages and all of that type of stuff, but you want to make sure that you have a really good, healthy net profit margin. So that way you have that room, that buffer to be able to grow, expand, and scale and take on those opportunities that you would not be able to take advantage of if you don't have the cash on hand. Now, I guarantee you that if you measured every single one of these numbers every single month, or even if you have a high frequency business and you do a lot of business, then you start measuring it every single week, I can guarantee you that you will scale your business faster than anything else that you do in your business. So if you want this spreadsheet so you can do all the calculations and you can plug in your numbers every single month, then just comment numbers below and I'll send it right over.